Lazlo there with The Ska Was Pink. We're going to head in a completely different direction now. I'm going to be playing you some classical music, which I know is slightly unexpected, but it's classical music with a twist. The first artist I'm going to play for you is called, first group I should say, is called Alarm Will Sound. And this is from an album that they did of Aphex Twin covers. So this is Alarm Will Sound doing their cover of the Aphex Twin song Mont Saint-Michel. Wasn't that insanely awesome? That was the orchestra Alarm Will Sound with their cover of the Aphex Twin song Mont Saint-Michel. Now, Alarm Will Sound are a 20-piece orchestra based out of Rochester in New York. And it's crazy to think that obviously Aphex Twin, Richard D. James, is a British guy. You know, grew up in Cornwall, did some recordings down here in Bath. You know, I'm sure when he wrote Mont Saint-Michel, he never imagined that one day it would be covered by a 20-piece New York-based orchestra. It's pretty crazy stuff. So sticking with the classical theme, I'm going to play you some Vitamin String Quartet, who I've played on previous shows before. This is their cover of the Pink Floyd classic, Comfortably Numb. Doesn't that translate beautifully? That was the Vitamin String Quartet with their cover of the Pink Floyd classic Comfortably Numb. So I'm going to play you one more vaguely classical piece, and then we'll be moving on to a different form of music. This is a piece written by Jeremy Soule, who is an amazing composer, and he's done a lot of video game soundtracks, and this piece is from a video game soundtrack. This is a track entitled The Streets of Whiterun, and it was composed for the video game The Elder Scrolls Skyrim. Now, the reason I'm playing it on The More You Know is because unless you play video games, you wouldn't be aware of this piece of music, which I think is a tragic shame. There's so much good music going into video games that is getting completely overlooked by people who don't play video games. So I thought I'd play this song on the show. Later on, I'm going to be playing another soundtrack theme from another video game, but that will fit in nicer later on, so I will leave that for now. But yeah, like I say, this is Jeremy Soule with The Streets of Whiterun.